I didn't hear wasn't paying attention to the first part
So
of
they
the
don't want to talk
conversation.
about it.
What were you guys?
Yeah, initially, and
So this House Bill 399 basically allows modulars and mobiles in any single-family zoning district.
talk about it.
Then there's this whole issue of
Remind them that it has nothing to do with this
it also
application.
it also prohibits us from citing compatibility
Note their concerns.
as an issue. If someone comes in for a rezoning and it's an infill development, it's like 100 acres or less, and there's already another development next door, then you're not allowed to cite compatibility as a reason not to approve it. And they have to amend the comp plan to include standards for what constitutes compatibility.
They were just saying there was some.
Sounds like we just have to find a different reason.
Oh, I already know how to go around this law. Been meaning to talk with
Number
David
8.
about it.
But their item.
There's other ways to deal with
road
this.
widening.
I mean,
Mr. Waitman was very upset about it, and I told him you just have to be
Not
smarter than the people who
particularly.
wrote the bill.
It's not specifically.
Yeah, which I mean, we were able to
Do with
deal with
this
Live Local, at least in the beginning,
but it's
deed restrictions.
So let's say, for instance, the legislature says you cannot require a setback greater than 5 feet.
Note.
Okay,
Just tell them that it's
we won't. Setbacks all be 5 feet.
speed.
However, we do require in a subdivision a 15-foot wide drainage easement down all side
Well,
lots.
they're connected.
There you go.
Okay.
That's how you deal with it.
Just, just pipe in if you think.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't
There you
think
get
it's
your
relevant, we don't think it's
setback,
relevant,
7.5 foot setback.
Yep.
tell me how much we can do.
Make a note of it.
Really, it just seems like everything that the legislature's been doing is just to seize control from municipalities. I mean, it's the property tax thing is another.
So on this compatibility, you have to approve it with no public hearing. So my take on it is we just change the land development code so that all alternative standards require
It's
two
cold,
public
but
hearings.
to me it feels good, because
All right, so we're not having a zoning.
we're hot outside, it feels
Having an
good.
alternative
We're having an
standard.
alternative standard hearing.
I'm always cold though. It's bad. Terrible.
There you go.
What is that?
Yeah, there's always ways around it. And it's just a big cat and mouse game.
About ready. I don't know.
Again, I feel like these laws are being drafted in Tallahassee to address very, isolated issues throughout the state. And there's a lot of collateral damage to go with it.
Yes, they're not well thought.
I mean, the whole property tax thing is another example. 'Cause they're going to have to supplement the revenue from somewhere, and it's probably going to come from the state.
Ready to go?
Which means they're going to hold the purse strings.
I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. So we'll get started by standing for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have the roll call, please.
Jimmy Girardi.
Here.
Christopher Poole. John Moody.
Here.
Matthew Munz.
Here.
Derek Conklin.
Here.
Chris Williams.
Here.
Chairman Charles Gray.
Here. And the proof of publication.
The items were advertised in the Tampa Bay Times on September 17th, 2025, January 21st, 2026, February 18th, 2026, and March 25th, 2026, and by affidavit of certified mailings and site postings.
All right. And a approval of any minutes.
Move approval of C1 and C2 annotated minutes.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Approved. And I think we can begin. I'd like to welcome everybody today. We're the Planning Commission. We're appointed by the Board of County Commissioners, and we meet twice monthly. We serve as a local planning agency, and we hold public hearings and transmit to the Board of County Commissioners our recommendations on comprehensive plan amendments, land development code amendments, rezonings, and conditional uses. The Planning Commission is the final decision-making body for special exceptions, certain appeals, variance requests, and certain alternative standard requests. However, decisions may be appealed to the Board of County Commissioners. If anyone is in opposition to any land development code amendment, rezoning, conditional use, or any item where the Planning Commission makes a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners, it's important for you to attend the appropriate Board of County Commission meeting. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the meetings, we have 3 sections that we deal with. There may be requests for continuances from the applicant or from the staff. If so, it's been our custom to approve those continuances unless there are extenuating circumstances. Then we have consent items that we'll go through those items. If you hear something read out on consent and you'd like to have it heard today or discussed, raise your hand. We'll pull it from consent and put it on with the regular items, and we'll go through the regular items and have opportunities for presentations and discussions and questions. Applicants will have 5 minutes to make their presentation, and the questioners will have 3 minutes to bring up their concerns, and then the applicant will have an opportunity to come back up and respond to those concerns. We also have a public comment period. If there's anyone here that wanted to speak on something that's not on today's agenda, this would be the time to let us know, so we'll give you an opportunity to speak. And is there anybody requesting additional time today? No, Mr. Chair. Okay. Just a reminder to please, if you have your cell phone with you, please put it in the silent position so that it doesn't go off when somebody's trying to speak. And so if you're planning to give testimony today, if you're planning to come up and speak, I'd like you to please stand and raise your right hand and be sworn.
We swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, so help you God.
Okay, I think we got one late, but I think it's stuck. Is that right? Okay. If we're ready.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and Planning Commission members. Kurt Syverson of Planning and Development and Economic Growth. We do not have individuals signed up for general public comment, but I was asked to provide a letter of opposition.
I'm sorry, could you just speak in that microphone a little bit louder? Thanks.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, we do not have individuals signed up for non-agenda items, but I was asked to provide a letter of opposition for the densities proposed by the 2050 plan, which I've printed.
You just asking us to receive and file that?
Yes, sir.
Motion to receive and file?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
How would they know what those are? We haven't been presented with them yet.
It's a fair point.
Is there an answer to that question?
There's not. I was asked to provide this as part of the public comment for non-agenda items.
Okay, who's asking?
I can still receive it.
Who's asking?
Just a resident by James Bandy.
I can't understand you. Say plainly in the microphone. Who is it?
A resident named James Bandy provided a letter of opposition.
Okay. Any other questions, John?
No, I don't know what they are. I don't know how he could know what they are.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. Thank you.
I apologize for the unusual introduction there.
That's okay.
You ready for the continuance items, Mr. Chair?
Yes, please go ahead. Yeah.
Agenda item PC3 is PDE 26-CU10, a conditional use request in the name of Vildesta for a short-term rental in a MF1 multiple-family medium-density district in southeast Pasco County, approximately 160 feet east of the intersection of Saddlebrook Way and Vildesta Court. This is coming with a request to continue the item to a date uncertain.
Okay. Is the applicant present? I don't see anyone. Is anyone here to object? Okay, so we'll go to the next one.
Agenda item PC4 is PDE 26-0455, an appeal of a determination by the Development Review Director, Appeal -2025-00005 for Meadow Point to Community Development District. This is coming with a request to continue the item to a date uncertain.
Is the applicant present? Anyone here to object?
Can you give us like an update on that?
For a date uncertain?
On the item itself, what's going on with it, anything?
I'm unfamiliar with the item.
Is anybody in the staff here familiar with the item?
Patrick's
This
not.
would be a question for
Patrick Gutter would be the one that's
We
most
originally had
familiar with
that.
it. I don't know if he's here.
6 months ago.
Exactly.
He's online? Okay. Patrick, are you available? Wake him up, will you? Patrick, are you available?
Can you hear me?
Patrick? Patrick? I'm sorry?
Yeah, he's talking, but we can't hear him over the speakers in the room, just give the info.
Okay, I'll give it a few minutes, or at least a minute. Patrick, do you hear us now? Patrick, 1, 2, 3, Patrick.
Testing.
Yep.
Finally, I thought you were on your way back from the moon.
It's on the dark side.
All right, Patrick, I guess we had some questions about PC4. Could you tell us what's going on there?
Sure, that's the continuance for the alt standard. So we're still working through
Suddenly, your volume is way down.
Now we
What's up?
can't hear you.
Still can't hear me or no?
There we go.
That's better, that's better.
Okay.
Start again.
We're still working with the applicant through the alternative standard for the potential gate. They're continuing to pursue the gate, but staff has some additional concerns on it. We're still working with the applicant through those issues.
Okay. Is that sufficient response?
I guess that's the best one I'm getting.
Okay, that's all you got for us then, Patrick?
If you want some specifics, we're concerned with the turnaround. The gate was placed at a location where there isn't an easy way for, if that gate were pursued, There's no easy spot for a turnaround. We're trying to work with their project engineer on some potential solutions. I believe Planning Commission also requested that other methods of traffic calming be looked at for this stretch of road. And we have yet to see anything proposed. So we're, again, still trying to work with the community through those items.
All right, Patrick.
I seem to recall too that we discussed allowing resident access to that gate as opposed to it being accessible only to emergency vehicles. Is that still?
Yes, and last we spoke to them, I think the CDDs were, I think, willing to work together on that. So I think they were planning on providing access, assuming the gate was going to be allowed, to provide access to both CDD 2 and CDD 3. But like I said, those other items we're still trying to flesh out, and we just don't have that quite ready yet to bring it back to the Planning Commission.
All right, Patrick, thank you.
Great, thanks.
Yep.
All right, move on.
Agenda item PC5, you will be sitting as the local planning agency. This item does have a companion item, which is PDE 267877, Palmetto Ridge MPUD. PDE 26-0033 is a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment, CPA 25(01) Palmetto Ridge MPUD, PD, providing for a comprehensive plan text amendment to sub-area policy FLU 7.134 Palmetto Ridge PD. This is coming with the request to continue the item to the May 7th, 2026 Planning Commission meeting at 1:30 in Dade City.
Anybody have any questions about that? Anybody want to speak? Okay. Next.
Agenda item PC6 is PD 26-7877, a zoning amendment, substantial modification in the name of Palmetto Ridge MPUD by Palmetto Ridge Cattle Company, LLC, EPG Palmetto Ridge Holding, LLC. Rezoning request for an MPUD Master Plan Unit Development District to MPUD Master Plan Unit Development District to allow for the development of 2,800 residential dwelling units and 100,000 square feet of commercial uses and associated infrastructure on approximately 3,536 acres located north central Pasco County on the north side of State Road 52, approximately a half-mile east of the intersection of State Road 52 and Aaron Cutoff. This is coming with a request to continue the item to the May 7th, 2026 Planning Commission meeting at 1:30 in Dade City.
Okay, the applicant present. Anyone here to object?
Mr. Chair, on PC5, I have no objection to the continuance, but when it comes back, if you could just put, if staff could just put a location in the title for PC5. I realize it's the same location as PC6, but normally we have a location for the plan amendment.
Got it? Okay. Is that the last continuance? Yeah. Let's have a motion.
I'll make a motion to continue PC3 and PC4 to date uncertain, and PC5 and PC6 to the May 7th meeting.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion of the motion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, motion carries. All right. We're on to PC8. Seven, I mean, excuse me.
Agenda item PC7, you'll be sitting as the local planning agency. That is PDE 26-0479, is a first amended and restated development agreement, Wiregrass Ranch Development of Regional Impact, and amended and restated DA between Locust Branch LLC and Pasco County to include the signalization of Wiregrass Ranch Boulevard and Chancey Road and other consistent revisions within the Wiregrass Ranch DRI, located on the east side of Bruce B. Downs Boulevard, extending from the intersection of State Road 581 and State Road 56, north to the intersection of State Road 581, State Road 54 on the south side of State Road 56 in south central Pasco County. This is coming with a recommendation of approval of the proposed development agreement consistent with the comprehensive plan and recommend approval to the Board of County Commissioners.
Okay, is here to speak on this one? Okay, let's see.
It's on consent, so.
Oh, okay, I didn't see that marked. Okay, so it's on consent. Lee, would you like to speak, or? Yeah, okay. Anyone here to object? See no one. All right. PC 8?
Mr. Chair,
You want to approve the consent agenda?
There's another
Oh,
item.
PC 8,
Oh, is there any more?
yeah.
PC 8's on consent.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Oh, okay.
So we
I'm
might
sorry.
mark.
I'm sorry, I didn't see that.
Sorry?
It's gonna get pulled.
Oh,
we
it's gonna
have
be
a
pulled.
individual signed up to speak on item PC8. We ask that item PC8 is moved to the regular agenda.
Okay, we'll pull that one.
Move approval of the consent agenda consisting of PC 7.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay. So we'll come back to PC 8. Let's go to PC 9, P9.
All right.
You're gonna do 8 and 9, correct?
Item P9 is PDE 26-7858, zoning amendment in the name of Sav Property Holdings LLC, New Horizons MPUD Master Plan Unit Development, to be presented by staff. I'm staff.
You're staying. Welcome back.
I'm sorry, I'm not following you today for some reason.
You're supposed to put a different hat on.
Hey, speak slower, plainer, something. I don't know. I don't have any hearing aids, so.
Good afternoon, Planning Commission members. This is the New Horizons MPUD.
Okay.
Here's a rough location within the county. The proposal is a rezoning request from an R2 low-density residential district to an MPUD master plan unit development for the maximum development of 31 single-family homes. The project is located within the South Market area, abutting south of the Wells Road extension, approximately 675 feet west of the Wells Road and Boyette Road intersection. Here's our site location. This is a relatively unimproved portion of Wells. Zoning map. The subject site was rezoned to R2 low-density residential in the early 2000s with a maximum density of 20 units. An ordinary R2 district would allow 46 homes on 10 acres. So the petition today is 11 additional homes, less than the R2 maximum, but more than they could pursue at the current time. The future land use designation of the site is residential 3, the maximum entitlement being 31 units by 3 units per acre, 10.33 acres required of the site. It's a context map. The subject site is less than 1 mile south of the Wesley Chapel District Park and approximately a quarter mile south of the Wesley Chapel Elementary School and High School. Here's our MPUD master plan. Although faint, there is a 10-foot right-of-way conveyance along the project frontage and the vehicular access points. The access, ingress, egress of the project will be on Wells Road and then stubs east and west for potential redevelopment of the neighboring properties. This is Exhibit 1, the binding concept plan. This also visually demonstrates the improvement to Wells Road. The roadway typical will be shown later in this presentation. The residential areas are in yellow, and the dark green on the south end is their open space requirement. Exhibit 2, this is a non-binding concept plan to visually demonstrate the 31 homes. All 31 homes shall have a minimum width of 55 feet. The lot, that is. Now here's the proposed 60-foot roadway typical to improve this segment of Wells Road from Boyette to the project access. There's an existing 50 feet of county-owned right-of-way to which the applicant proposes to develop as part of this project without reimbursement via mobility fee credits. The only portion left for future development of this typical would be a second 10-foot multi-use path. The 10-foot multi-use path to be developed as part of this project will go on the north end of that right-of-way. The developer has conveyed the second southern 10 feet via right-of-way, which would require right-of-way conveyance of neighbors to ultimately build out to Boyette Road.
Okay.
Patty, could you move to the next slide? This thing's frozen. There are two variation requests as part of this project. The first being from LDC section 901.6.D.11, and this is to not provide a vehicular connection south of the project boundary. That's given the existing residences immediately south of the project, in addition to New Dutch Lane's inability to support additional vehicular trips. The second variation request is from LDC section 901.2.I. This is a reduction of the corridor width for Wells Road. This was originally contemplated at 80 feet. However, the 60-foot typical would provide sufficient vehicular and pedestrian facility of the proposed density and existing density on this segment of Wells Road. That PD recommends approval to the Board of County Commissioners of the zoning amendment request with conditions. I'm here if you have questions.
Just a quick one. You said the concept plan was non-binding?
The concept plan is binding. The second one here is a non-binding illustration, the only difference being a visual demonstration of the 31 homes, whereas the binding concept plan denotes those areas as residential.
Okay, I got it.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Applicant present?
Barbara Wilhite, 6327 Grand Boulevard, Newport Richey, for the applicant. We were here a couple months ago. I was just looking to see if anybody signed up here because we just did a presentation, but we were here a couple months ago and we had a bunch of neighbors that were interested in this project. They were all of our neighbors to the east, the Boyette family, members of the Boyette family. They were very interested in the Wells Road and how that was going to be constructed. They have a business of let's try to describe their business. They sell fruits and vegetables. They have food trucks, kind of a community gathering area. People come have coffee, they eat. So they wanted to make sure that how Wells Road functioned in the after it was improved would also work for their business. So we went out one afternoon, drug your county engineer out with us, and went out on the site and met with them. And happy to say, we worked out everything. I worked out a solution for everyone. Something that works for the developer, the county, and the adjacent property owner. So perhaps that's why nobody signed up. Maybe there was somebody here to speak, I don't know. But that's why you've seen this on your agenda a couple months ago, and it took us a little bit to get that done, and we're back today, and we hope we have your support. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Barbara. Any questions from up here? No. Okay, is anyone here to speak on this topic? Looks like there isn't. So, any comments from up here and any motions?
No. Except to be curious why it may not have been on the consent agenda. But
Move to approve item P9.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion of P9? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay. Very good, thank you. Next.
Agenda item P10, you'll be sitting as the local planning agency for. This is PDE 26.
Yeah, why are we doing PC eight?
Say that again?
PC eight.
I don't know. Okay. Okay, back to PC8.
All right. Item PC8, you'll be seeing this local planning agency for. This is PD 26-0110, a development agreement in the name of Morris Bridge Road and State Road 56.
Okay, Robert, what's up?
Hello. Good afternoon, Robert Irving, Planning Development, Economic Growth. Yes, let me first note this on the record. There was letters of opposition submitted to the clerk's office prior to the agenda being published.
Mhm. Anybody here to speak on this one? Just looking for a count.
Mr. Chair, we do have one individual pre-registered to sign up to speak for this item.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Just waiting to pull it up on the screen here.
All this anticipation, I better do a good job, right?
That's right.
No pressure.
Perfect. This is PDE 26-0110, the Morris Bridge Road and State Road 56 Development Agreement. And here's the general location in the southeast portion of the county. And here's the physical Morris Bridge Road DA improvements that are within the actual development agreement. And the proposal is to widen the road to 4 lanes with a roundabout, including a right-in, right-out, shown in the center of the screen, to achieve an ultimate right-of-way width of 124 feet. And these improvements will span from just north of the intersection of Morris Bridge Road, Colston Road, and Old Woods Avenue to the intersection of Morris Bridge Road and State Road 56. So this right here shows the southern extent of the improvements proposed, with the stormwater pond on the north side of Morris Bridge Road to account for the widening. And then these right here are the site access improvements, which are not reimbursable as part of the development agreement. Both of these shown here. All right, let me go back for a second here to this one. Just also to note as well, there is plans to improve Morris Bridge Road north of State Road 56 within the CIP, spanning from State Road 56 to just south of Chancey Road to widen to 4 lanes as well with that 124 feet of right-of-way, which are proposed or expected to begin construction in fiscal year 29. And this comes to you with the recommendation to find the proposed development agreement consistent with the comprehensive plan and recommend approval to the Board of County Commissioners.
All right, Robert, thank you. Any questions? Up here, I understand that there are some questions from the public that may not specifically relate to this application, but
Correct.
touches on those subjects. So, okay.
Barbara Wellhite, 6327 Grand Boulevard, for the, I wouldn't say the applicant, but for the party that's doing this agreement with the county. So my client is the developer of a commercial project at the intersection of 56 and Morris Bridge pursuant to a 2019 MPUD approval that approved commercial at that corner. As they were working through the specifics of developing their project and the site access improvements that they have to make to access their project, the county said, well, while you're out there, would you make the improvements that we need to the road? So that's what started the development agreement. And as we worked through the development agreement, there was a lot of work on behalf of staff to make sure that we weren't being reimbursed for anything that we needed for our commercial project. So my client's paying for what they need for their commercial project, and the county's paying for what they would like to have, improvements to the road. So they ultimately can be done at the same time, which creates an efficiency all the way around. For the traveling public, so you don't tear up a road twice. It's cheaper a lot of times to do it when other groups already mobilized. A lot of times the developers can do it less expensive than the county contractors. So that's how this came to be. Just want to give you a little background. Thank you.
So Barbara, doesn't show anything on here on this aerial, in case people are looking at it. Where's the property that's subject to the one you're working on?
The development project pursuant to the approved MPUD is at the northwest corner of Morris Bridge and 56.
Okay.
By the way, Commissioner Moody, this is an example of something that we talked about during the mobility fee discussion, where we have the developers build it while they're out there doing their construction on their project. So I know you raised a concern during the mobility fee discussion that we weren't getting the roads built fast enough. This is an example of us trying to do that.
Yes, it is.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there anybody here? I think there's some people here that want to ask questions.
Sir Chair,
Come,
we have
please give us your name and address and state your concerns.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the commission for hearing us. My name is Serrano Colbert, and I live at 34257 Carronade Road, Wesley Chapel. It's in the River Landing Townhomes.
Right.
I'm the president of the Homeowners Association, here with our secretary. And so I'm here basically, we represent 250 townhomes, right? That's directly adjacent to the building of the Walmart and the road construction that's being planned and probably will be approved. So we're here, our boundaries are State Road 56, Bowerman Road, Marsbridge Road, and also Old Woods Road, where all the construction is going to go on.
Uh-huh.
So I'm just here as a matter of record,
Mm-hmm.
okay, to present our concerns about
Okay.
the construction and development. We all purchased our homes brand new with Taylor Morrison as a residential area.
Right.
We never expected such major expansion. So while I think most of us, and probably all of us, are not against any development, but we do have concerns about the impact it's going to have on our community
Okay.
with the road expansion and also with the building of the Walmart. So I'm here to see what the commission can provide, any assistance to us, especially with the road expansion, the inconvenience and everything that's going to happen because of that, and also the building of the Walmart. Is there anything that the commission can possibly do to assist us when we go, and we probably will, try to negotiate with Walmart some of our concerns and see what they're willing to help us out with.
Can you
Yes.
identify your specific concerns?
Specific concerns, number one is additional traffic,
Mm-hmm.
pedestrian and vehicle traffic, noise, sound barriers. That's we're going to request the sound barriers be built to prevent the extra noise coming in, and also one of our concerns is the safety of the community. Being that we are open, the townhomes is open. It's not a gated community.
Right.
So anybody can walk in, right? We don't have a security patrol, which if we do, we are a nonprofit. So, you know, the only money we get is from our dues.
Yeah.
Added expenses, added security, added fencing, added anything is going to require us to raise our dues to provide for that, which was not planned for.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm basically here just as a matter of record, and if you can, the members of the board, commission rather,
Right.
could provide any assistance, we'd be most grateful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before you sit down, David, do you have any comment on that, what we can?
I mean, I think they
some way
need
we
to,
can help them
I
with
think they need to
guidance.
engage in a conversation directly with Walmart. I mean, this is, the application that's before us is a development agreement to expand the road, so, it doesn't sound like any of his requests relate directly to the road itself. It sounds like his concerns relate to the Walmart site. I mean, I think that he probably needs to, you know, I think Patrick's still on the line. I don't know if he's still there, but we could probably get staff to send this gentleman a copy. I don't know if Walmart has submitted their application for the site plan or not. Barbara's shaking her head yes.
Mhm.
So,
It hasn't been approved or not? No. Okay,
so
you're
it
still-
seems to me what this gentleman needs to do is get involved in the site plan approval process for Walmart and get a copy of that site plan, take a look at it, see if the way that they designed their site addresses any of his concerns. If it does not, he probably needs to have a conversation with Walmart directly, and with our site plan staff to see if there's anything that could be done with the site design for Walmart.
Robert,
I just don't think this application that's before us today there's not much we can do on this particular application, because this is an application for the road, not for the Walmart site.
Mr. Irving that presented this just a minute ago, you're right over there, Robert. He could be the point person for you to stay in touch with on that, because, you know, he'll be involved with that segment of it. And,
But if you could get your contact information to staff, we can make sure that they get it to Mr. Dutter, so Mr. Dutter can get you a copy of whatever Walmart has filed to date.
then you can better tell what issues you may have, and maybe they can deal with it, help you deal with it.
Okay.
So,
That way you can at least see what they've submitted.
right.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
That way you can see the site plan they've submitted.
And then you know exactly what they're trying to put there.
Great, okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Happy to help.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for coming. All right, anybody else? I just have a question. Yeah, please come forward. If you give your name and address, just for the record, we need to keep it on the record.
Andrea Gatewood, 2312 Ailey Lane, Wesley Chapel, Florida. Just a quick question. With the road widening, has there been a traffic study to basically prove or hopefully all the additional traffic that's gonna come into that area with Two Rivers? I understand there's two. I know there's Taylor Morrison is building something further down Morris Bridge, and there's two other, I believe there's another apartment building on the, get my bearings, north, east, that's west, east side. That's gonna be, so I just wanna know, do they do traffic studies just to make sure that that roundabout that they're going to develop will help ease the flow of traffic?
Yeah,
For emergency vehicles and,
Yeah, they would do a it's very extensive traffic study, and before they would take on a project like this, I believe. Did staff have any comment about that?
thank you.
Sure, I'm happy to help.
William Vermillion, Planning Development Economic Growth. The traffic was studied in two different phases here. 2019, timing and phasing, studied the original 250,000 square feet of commercial that was allocated inside of this MPD as well as the residential. And then additionally, the access management analysis was submitted for this particular parcel.
Okay, good.
In addition, I believe the Two Rivers project is going through a substantial modification, and they're doing a traffic study as well, isn't that right?
Yes, sir, we have the revised traffic study for the modification for Two Rivers as well, which takes into account the entire area's traffic.
Hey, before you sit down, William, I think she has one more. Yeah, I need you to come up to the microphone.
So that includes the hospital too? All right, so that includes the hospital and all the
You need this, I'm sorry, we need your
That-
name again.
Andrea Gatewood, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Go ahead, now ask the question.
No problem. So that also include the hospital as well?
Yes, ma'am. Anything on
Okay. So 56?
It'd be, yeah, it'd be 56 at Houston Mountain.
Okay.
So if you, so like the study area for Two Rivers,
Right.
go all the way from County Line Road up to
Mhm.
56, intersections out to 301 up to Chansey, and then River Landing, then move further eastward.
Okay, so if I'd like a copy of that, is that possible? Just to study, to, okay, cool, thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you. Appreciate it. That cover everybody? Okay. All right. That being the case, I have a motion.
Move approval of PC 8.
We have a motion to approve PC 8.
Second.
We have a second. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay, motion carries. Thank you, everyone, for that. Now back to 10, I think. We're still on 10, aren't we?
Agenda item P10, you'll be sitting as the local planning agency for. This is PDE 26-0475, an ordinance by Pasco County Board of County Commissioners, amending the Pasco County Land Development Code, Section 1104, flood damage prevention, Appendix A definitions, and other sections as necessary for internal consistency, providing for applicability, repealer, providing for severability, inclusion into the Land Development Code, and an effective date. This will be presented by staff.
Okay.
Hello, good afternoon. Brian Junker, Planning, Development, and Economic Growth Department. Sorry. So today, the purpose of the ordinance is to implement the required revisions to the Pasco County Land Development Code to ensure compliance with the Section 163.31295 of the Florida statute concerning the hurricane relief, recovery, and response.
3121, 31295, or 31795?
I do apologize, I will read it again. 163.31795.
Right.
Okay. Also, the purpose of the ordinance will align county definitions with the definition of the Florida Emergency Management. Also address the Scrivener error from prior amendments to create consistency with the code. These changes will not impact the county's current participation in the National Flood Insurance Program, nor the county's rating system score. A summary of changes: the LTC 1104 section 163.31795(2) of the Florida statute prohibits local government that participate in the National Flood Insurance Program from adopting or enforcing cumulative substantial improvement periods, also known as the look-back ordinance. The duties of the floodplain administrator has been revised to remove the role evaluating previous permits for improvement and repairs. The Appendix A definition were amended as follows: the market value, the removal of the language previously identified the building official as the entity responsible for determining the final market value, aligns the definition with the Florida Department of Emergency Management. Substantial damage, to update the Scrivener error that failed to revise the percent market value damage from 50% to 49%. This has now been revised to 49% in alignment with the 2022 amendment from substantial improvements. This does not change legal effect, as the county currently enforces 49% for both substantial improvement and substantial damage. The substantial improvement, removal of the language referencing period of accumulation and cumulative cost to align with the Florida statute section 163.31795(2), Chapter 18 of the Pasco County Code of Ordinances will be revised to align the Land Development Code definitions of substantial improvement proposed for this amendment. The recommendations come to you today. Accept public comment. Find the proposed amendment consistent with the comprehensive plan. I'm here if you have any questions.
All right, any questions? Okay, do we have any public comment? Seeing none? Have a motion?
Move to approve item P10.
Second. Have a motion and a second, further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? Okay, thank you. All right.
So we need to
Yes, we have to
conclude
adjourn.
this meeting before we begin.
You have to adjourn and then start the.
Yeah, you have to adjourn this
Workshop.
one before you start your workshop.
All right.
Motion to it. You ready for that?
Second.
Motion to adjourn.
It's the first thing I've heard out of you today.
Well, there wasn't much for me to vote on today.
We have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Can we have a couple minute recess? Should we?
Yes, you may.
Huh? Yeah. My bladder needs it.
So it wasn't my imagination.
Was it?
What is that?
Some kind of beetle or something. I
Oh.
was like, what the heck is it? Is it flying
A
around?
beetle.
It's not John Paul or George
A Ringo.
He's dead now.
Must have brought him from lunch.
Beetle O'Brady's.
Yeah, right.
Kept feeling it crawling up my back. I'm like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah. Yeah, that's not good. Chris, how's the team doing over there?
What?
How's the team doing?
They're doing great.
Are they?
Yeah.
Good.
Liam's over in England right now.
Oh, that's right, he told me he was gonna go there, yeah. Yeah,
So he combined it with spring break, so he's been over there a couple weeks.
my old stomping ground.
Yeah?
Yeah, we had an office over there for about 10 years.
Did you really? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, one there, one in Switzerland, and one in Germany.
wow. I did not realize that.
Yeah, used to do a lot of international stuff,
Yeah?
yeah.
You get over there and spend a lot of time over there then?
Yeah, I did, I traveled quite a bit over
Okay.
there. Still have some pretty good friends.
Yeah?
Have a niece, and actually grandchild, who's just starting at Oxford there,
Oh, wow.
yeah. One of 6 people that were chosen for law school.
That's impressive.
Yeah,
I always thought it'd be cool to go there.
yeah. It's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Their, culture's changing a little bit with all the immigration now.
Yeah.
That's the bad problem, you know? Sort of losing control,
Yeah.
Sharia law and all that stuff, you know?
Right.
But it's a beautiful place.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been to England a couple of times, but I haven't made it to Oxford yet. I'd like to go.
It's really nice.
Go look at that.
You know, we had an office just about maybe 20 minutes from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
We used to do a lot of international real estate shows.
Okay.
Yeah. And in Hong Kong, everywhere.
You were all over.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. That's why traveling is not that very exciting to me anymore.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I got it all in early.
Oh, I gotta get mine in now. Use the restroom. I'll have
Okay.
opportunity. Yeah,
All right.
so-
Hey, Pat. Huh? Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can, just let me know when you're ready. As long as it's okay with David.
Sure.
Gotta keep David happy. He's my neighbor.
You just made that one up.
Thanks for sharing.
It's pretty terrible. Yeah, it's good because it's so bad. David, did you hear about the origami company that went out of business?
Excuse me, sir?
Did you hear about the origami company that went out of business?
I did not.
They folded.
Oh, thank you. But I guess they wrinkled the balance sheet. We can get into our fund balance.
I think we should open up every planning commission meeting with a dad joke. We'll probably lose.
Silence, so we'll salute the flag, and we'll tell them to deactivate it.
Yep. And we'll immediately lose viewership online.
Mr. Chair, if you want to get started? Oh, man.
They asked for us to delay.
process.
Yeah, they got some kind of technical issue.
Didn't know about the St. Joe extension. That'll be a huge one.
He said, go look and see what it crosses. I'm sure the county to the south of us will have something to say about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of well fields up there. Isn't it?
Ready to go?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, there you are. All right.
All right.
I think we have to go through the whole introduction again, right? I'd like to call the meeting to order. We stand for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Jimmy Gerard.
Here.
Christopher Poole. John Moody.
Here.
Matthew Munns.
Here.
Derek Cotlin.
Here.
Chris Williams.
Here.
Chairman Charles Gray.
Here. Okay. So we can start.
Thank you, Chairman, Mr. Chairman. My name is Hayat Mazzilli, Planning, Development, and Economic Growth, and we are back again with Pasco 2050 workshop. Today's workshop is gonna be discussing the chapter number 3, which is Pasco Moves. Pasco Moves is the transportation element. This chapter, just like all the other chapters of the Pasco 2050 Comprehensive Plan, has been worked on by numerous stakeholders, the County Attorney's Office and county departments, including the Planning, Development, Economic Growth, of course, the MPO, Go Pasco, and the Transportation Engineering Department. All of these departments had significant participation and contribution to the updates of this chapter. So for today's session, we will be focusing specifically on update to Table 7-2, which is the corridor preservation table, and the associated transportation maps, including existing map 7-35, which is the Transportation Corridor Preservation Map, and existing map 7-36, the Highway Vision Plan Map. And these materials were sent out to the Planning Commission in advance so that everyone had the opportunity to review the tables and, of course, the map updates prior to today's workshop. They are also available on our Pasco 2050 projects website. We will come back on April 16 to walk you through the goals, objectives, and policies of this chapter. We have intentionally divided this chapter into 2 sessions to make sure, or to make the review more manageable and to ensure that the Planning Commission has adequate time to focus on the technical updates first before diving into the policy framework. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge Nick Uren, our Pasco County engineer, who has done the heavy lifting on this portion of the chapter. Nick, personally updated the entire corridor preservation table and the corresponding transportation maps, ensuring accuracy, consistency, and alignment with both the conditions, the existing conditions on the ground right now, and also the long-term mobility plans and mobility needs. So Nick will walk us today through the updates made to the corridor preservation table to the, and how these updates translated onto the maps. And with that, I'll keep Pasco Moves on the move, and I will hand it to Nick to walk us through all these changes.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome, Nick.
Well, good afternoon. That also means, Nick Uren, County Engineer. That also means that I'm responsible for the mistakes that you will inevitably unearth.
Yeah, undoubtedly.
Yeah. So just giving you a brief overview of the table update. We've got 4 different types of changes that we made on this slide. We looked at the number of travel lanes that we are ultimately identifying on a segment-by-segment basis, and we amended those for consistency with the MPO needs plan. That's the unconstrained, not the financial feasible or cost-affordable version, but the how much should we build if we wanted to accommodate all the growth and all the travel that we could possibly envision in the future. And then we also wanted to ensure that we were updating the number of travel lanes to reflect that demand level. If there was any discrepancy between the needs plan and what we thought was necessary, we wanted to ensure that those facilities reflected the needed investments. We looked at right-of-way width, and generally speaking, and I don't know if you heard this even this past Tuesday at the Board of County Commissioners meeting, the conversation has been, let's make the right-of-way widths as compact as possible. We have generally established pretty wide corridors in Pasco County that allow for a significant amount of green space, and we're trying to make sure that we balance that to allow land to remain in private ownership for development wherever possible, and to ensure that we've protected enough right-of-way to construct the ultimate transportation facilities in the system that we need to let people move around. I do want to mention that while we are standardizing and right-sizing the corridor widths, we are not proposing typical section content in the comp plan. Meaning I'm going to tell you how wide these corridors are, but I'm not going to get into the detail of exactly what's going to be in those corridors as part of the comp plan update. That will be presented to the Board of County Commissioners at a future point once the comp plan has been adopted, so they can say, yes, build roads that look like this within the footprint that you have established in the comp plan. We did do some realignments, and I'll show you some examples of that on some succeeding slides to ensure that the alignment of roadways are compatible with development approvals and are constructible, essentially trying to minimize or eliminate environmental impacts wherever we could. And then we did delete some roads that are in the comp plan map currently because they are not constructible and or not necessary. So that's kind of the big picture categories of changes that we've made to both map and tables. And then some structural notes on the table. Previously and in our currently adopted comp plan, we have a segment or a portion of the table that shows the state roads and a portion that shows the county roads. We did away with that, converted it to a column. So the column now says jurisdiction and identifies for each segment who is the responsible jurisdiction for that facility. We also removed a notes column from the existing table. Essentially, that was being used to say, even though the table has content, don't pay attention to it, go look for a study somewhere else. And we said, let's not do that any longer. Let's let this table reflect the intended outcome for each of the segments in the comp plan. Some updates to the road names. We had a lot of placeholders that were established until development came in and proposed names of particular segments. So we just updated the table to reflect the road names that have been established. And then we're also going to propose an intersection footprint for a preferred approach that we would like to see roundabouts constructed. This also came up at our Board of County Commissioners meeting on Tuesday. We'd like to prefer roundabout construction where feasible, but if we don't do roundabouts, then we also want to identify the width of the road necessary to accommodate turn lanes and traffic signal apparatus if we go that route, the turn lane plus signal. And then last thing, we added a couple of new roadways, and we are identifying the planned future interchange locations, any grade separations that would have a required footprint associated with them, so that if development comes in along those areas, we can protect the land needed for those future interchanges. Here's an example of the table. I'm not going to go through all, what did we end up with, 125 pages or so of table content. So I'm not going to go through the individual table by page by page. But we did, so I'm highlighting State Road 54 that was transferred to Pasco County as a result of an executed road jurisdiction transfer agreement between the state and the county. So that now has become Wesley Chapel Boulevard for these segments of road. The jurisdiction has been updated from state to county. And then we've also updated both the number of ultimate lanes. You can see a couple of segments there had shown an ultimate 8. And we said, consistent with the MPO needs plan and the forecasted demand for the area, we can get by with a 6-lane road in those two segments at the bottom, Curly to Zephyr Hills to Meadow Point. And then we reduce the right-of-way footprint to correspond with the number of travel lanes. So that's an example of the kind of changes that we made throughout the table. And now I'm going to touch on some of the map components. First one is the intersection footprint. And what I'm showing you here is a footnote in the right-of-way protection table that says we would like to build roundabouts whenever possible. And what we said in the footnote and what I'm showing you graphically is, if we have a 2-lane road connecting with another 2-lane road, what we essentially need is a 150-foot diameter circle in order to accommodate a 2-lane roundabout, one circling lane, one in, one out on the approaches. If we have a bigger road, a 2x4 or a 4x4 lane road at an intersection, that footprint increases to 250 feet. Because we now want to have 2 lanes circling the roundabout, we need the larger space to accommodate the radius associated with the turning movements of the larger vehicles going around together in the roundabout. If we don't need that, and I did this on purpose to show you kind of relative scale, if we don't do a roundabout, we can get by with really only about 150 feet on our biggest roads on each of the 4 approaches, because we're only going to need 2 left turn lanes, 2 or 3 through lanes, depending on whether it's a 4 or a 6-lane road, and 1 right turn lane. And those lanes, along with the departure lanes, the bike facilities, and the multi-use pathways, only need about 150 feet. And the point I'm trying to make in this graphic is the roundabouts at the intersection themselves will require additional right-of-way to be protected. We actually had this conversation also on Tuesday with respect to the Kenton Road, Elam Road intersection. The question was, can we accommodate a roundabout at that intersection? And the answer was, we don't have the required 250 feet of diameter for a circular roundabout because we didn't have this policy in our comp plan that said, please protect it. And so we didn't get the land from the development as it came in. So the approach that we're trying to go down now is to ensure that we give ourselves the option of building the roundabout and express a preference for that where feasible on 2- and 4-lane roads. 6-lane roads are always going to be turn lanes and signals. I want to touch on a handful of map amendments to ensure that you capture the sense of what we've done on the overall maps. So in this graphic, I'm showing you in northwest Pasco the addition of a new vision collector road, Bolton Avenue, and that's this, give it a sec, I don't know if that's going to work for me. Okay, so we're saying Bolton Avenue from US 19 all the way over here to Coyote is the proposed additional road, and that gives us a collector road network in the Denton, New York area. And we also recognize that the parallel road to US 19 in this area, diagonal, is an unconstructable alignment, it creates all sorts of havoc when it comes to the intersections with crossing streets and the right-of-way acquisition, as well as the value to the network on a regional scale is minimal. So we're proposing to delete that road. Wanted to give you an example of that. That's a good example of an addition and a deletion. Looking at the Suncoast Parkway area north of State Road 52 within the vicinity of Hudson Avenue, handful of changes that we're suggesting in this area. First one is Hudson Avenue constructing over the turnpike, or over the Suncoast Parkway rather, as of minimal value on a regional scale because we have that existing connection to Soft Wind Lane that goes between Hudson and Shady Hills, and because it's very expensive and difficult to build a bridge over the Suncoast Parkway, as we're demonstrating with our work on the Rangeland Boulevard corridor. We're also suggesting that Hayes Road, based on predicted future volumes, is going to be busy enough to warrant the wider footprint and a 4-lane investment, not just a 2-lane road with turn lanes. That's reflective of development approvals in the area, and we're saying that that kind of capacity investment is needed. And again, these are examples that illustrate the point of some other changes that have happened in other parts of the county as well, but I'm walking you through how we thought about the analysis of these particular types of questions. And then on a bigger scale, we're suggesting the addition of an interchange at the Suncoast Parkway and Caldwell Lane, because essentially we have had conversations with the Turnpike Enterprise, the folks who manage the Suncoast Parkway, who said to us, Hudson Avenue might have been a good idea, but you didn't protect right-of-way for ramps, and it's going to be expensive for the county to build, and then the Turnpike will not have the land necessary for the interchange ramps because we gave development approvals on the east side and allowed for construction of stuff where we would put the ramps. They said Shady Hills is no good because of the curvature of the road passing under the Suncoast Parkway, and again, the lack of land associated with, or necessary for the ramps. And so the third option on the table was Caldwell Lane, and we said, we'll take it. This is about halfway between 52 and County Line Road and would give us another opportunity to access both the Shady Hills corridor and the northwest part of Pasco County from the Suncoast Parkway. And then we're also suggesting that north-south road that is in the current comp plan between Shady Hills and Caldwell on the east side of the Suncoast Parkway is not necessary or constructible, and so that's an example of a facility that's coming out. Moving over to Connected City and Villages of Pasadena Hills, the green line on the left side of this map is the I-75 corridor.
Okay, cool.
The blue line is the State Road 52 corridor, to give you some orientation. And what we're suggesting in this area is that we should realign roads to their constructible locations. The following 4 roads that are listed there: Murata/Hartman, which is the portion north of County Road 52 that would give a connection around the Target Distribution Center, and then also the Curly Road corridor, aligning it to be more compatible with and consistent with the constructible location in the vicinity of the Prospect Murata intersection. We're looking at the Kenton Road corridor. This just came to you, I think, last month and was approved by the board just earlier this week for the development agreement to build Kenton Road on the light teal alignment shown here. And then lastly, the North-South Road C, which is over on the eastern part of the Villages of Pasadena Hills in the southeast or lower right corner of your map, realigning that at the Overpass Road intersection to reflect, again, a constructible alignment. In addition, on this same map, we're showing the yellow lines are existing county vision roads, primarily collectors, that are being removed because they are either unneeded and or unbuildable. The 2 south of Kiefer Road are the area within the Southwest Florida Water Management District property acquisition. They are being removed because it will both be difficult to construct roads through that area, and because with the construction of Curly Road and the extension of Old Bridge and the widening of Handcart, we have adequate north-south capacity in that portion of the county, so we don't need those additional 2 roads. Same answer when it comes to the road just west of Handcart Road, south of State Road 52. That will still be constructed as a development access road, but it will not go all the way to Prospect, again, because we don't need the north-south capacity and we can rely on some of the local facilities to support that area. So again, examples of additions, or modifications rather, and removals in the eastern part of the county. Southeast part of the county, I have 2 items where we are realigning roads, golf links, coats, and then the southeastern portion there, the State Road 56 alignment, what we're showing is a concept alignment. They're actually doing what they call a alternative corridor evaluation study. They like to say it's an ACES study to figure out where they think that State Road 56 can be constructed east of US 301. Today, it roughly terminates at the 301 intersection. There's a small local facility on the east side at the, what's the name of that? The vehicle shop there, the auction site. So there's an auction site on the east side. It terminates roughly in the auction site. What DOT is trying to figure out is how can they get State Road 56 to go not just from US 301 east to State Road 39, Paul Buckman Highway, but all the way east to the US 98 corridor that connects down to Lakeland. That's because they're looking at it on a regional scale. What I've done is I've shown you the portion of the corridor within Pasco County because I wear blinders and I stop thinking about the world when I get to the county boundary. And likewise, when we're realigning State Road 56, we're also removing the existing yellow line in the comp plan, which is an unconstructable location for that extension, in recognition that it was passing through wetlands and land that we've now allowed to become people's homes. I mentioned that we are adding to the comp plan the grade separations that are planned for the county, and so these are, there are 4 being shown here, and I say 4 because this is the State Road 54 corridor here, and what I'm doing is I'm showing you the proposed grade separation at the US 41 interchange, and then also, consistent with the MPO's long-range plan, I'm showing you the planned grade separation at the Collier Parkway intersection and what the ramps at that location might look like. This is conceptual at Collier. It's farther than conceptual, but it has not yet moved into full right-of-way acquisition at 41 because this is, I'm essentially showing you the location of the ramps that the DOT has established as their preferred alternative for the overpass at 41. We're also suggesting a grade-separated interchange at I-75 and St. Joe Road in northeast Pasco County, which would be equidistant from the existing interchanges at State Road 52 and Blanton Road, and it would provide a direct connection into Dade City via St. Joe, which connects to Meridian and goes straight into the heart of downtown. And we're also suggesting, as I mentioned earlier, the Shady Hills Caldwell Lane area, a proposed interchange with the Suncoast Parkway. Now these are all, apart from the US 41 at 54, these are all conceptual in nature. They would require consent of the state for the portions of I-75 and or the Suncoast Parkway, but they do allow us to protect right-of-way for the future potential interchange that we've identified as needed in our transportation system.
What's the cost share on that with the state in a situation like that?
So it depends. It quite heavily depends. If it's almost like a question of who goes first. When we went to the state and said we desperately want to open up the villages of Pasadena Hills, northern Wesley Chapel area for development, and we want Overpass Road to connect to I-75, they said, great idea, you pay for it. And we paid 100% of the cost of that interchange. But if they come to us and say, hey, county, we are desperately looking for ways to relieve the I-75 State Road 52 congestion, and we have done all we can at the ramp terminals, is there any way we could construct with your corridor on St. Joe Road that would give us another way for people to access the interstate without having to go to State Road 52? If they come to us, then they pay. So it really does significantly depend.
And to revisit since we're on this slide, the interchange at, that's proposed at Caldwell as opposed to the existing overpass over Shady Hills Road. I understand there's not a lot of land there, but there is an overpass there, whereas with Caldwell, you'd have to build something from scratch. So can you talk a little bit more about the logic behind, because I understand it's...
Yeah, let me jump back to that slide. And one point of clarification, Caldwell actually does have a bridge over the Suncoast Parkway today.
Okay.
So it's a 2-lane bridge. It's not an adequate bridge for an interchange to connect to, but there's an existing structure over the Suncoast. So it's sort of getting your foot in the door, if you will, with respect to the ability to go over the Suncoast and have the landing space on either side.
Yeah.
And I'm going to paraphrase, but essentially, we didn't protect land at Hudson Avenue for the extension, the yellow line. And the Turnpike said we didn't protect land and the curvature of the road under the Shady Hills Road, under the Suncoast Parkway makes it very difficult, if not impossible, to construct an interchange on Shady Hills itself. And so our thought was we'd really like to support industrial development in this area. It's a targeted employment center for Northwest Pasco County. We want the regional connectivity that an interchange provides. If you have to go a half mile, quarter mile north on Shady Hills to get to Caldwell and make a right turn and get right on the Suncoast Parkway in that way, it provides most of the connectivity value and has the benefit of being constructible. And I'm going to say interchanges in general, like this one is a good example. These are placeholders that suggest in a desired future vision. If that vision were to change, if we were to do a feasibility study and say, you know what, you really can build it at Shady Hills, and here's how. We could satisfy the intent of the comprehensive plan identifying a connection in this vicinity without formally going through an amendment process and saying, let's move it from here to there. I think this is more than anything. This is demonstrating a desire to connect to their limited access facility, not specifying the precise way in which it will connect.
So, Nick, where you identified those future interchanges and kind of reservations of the property, et cetera, if somebody comes in and owns that property and wants to develop, do they follow along the same parameters and criteria that's followed now?
They do, and I'll use and probably the I-75 at St. Joe is the best example.
Right.
Should we have an application that receives favorable consideration for development on the quadrants of that intersection, what we'd like to be able to say to that applicant is, I'm glad to see that you want to make meaningful use of your property. Please set aside this amount of land for the ramp connections and potentially the drainage facilities associated with those ramp connections, so that we can protect our ability to build a future interchange in this area.
Well,
so
how is that area identified, though? I mean, like if I have a piece of property that's adjacent to a roadway corridor and it says 124 feet, I can easily do the math, but how does the property owner know? Do they go meet with you individually in those specific areas?
Well, so the center lines that are drawn on the map in general are the approximate locations where we think roads either where they already exist or where we think they will likely exist, and then we identify in the table a width as well. And these facilities have an 80-foot width attached to them, suggesting that would be enough for a 2-lane off and on ramp with a little bit more of a footprint for an additional turn lane at the intersection when it connects with the crossing roadway.
Nick, question. This goes to the deletions from the map and ties a little bit into Jamie's question. So what happens when the next county engineer comes in here and decides, well, first off, that interchange is in the northeast rural area, and the politics of building an interchange in that area probably aren't going to blow your way, at least for now. And now you've exacted that land from whatever developer there was, and then you decide you don't want to build it. And I'm thinking about Diagonal Road over on 19. Okay, so now we've been exacting land from those property owners for the last 20 years along that corridor, and now we say, well, now we're not going to build it. Are we giving that land back to those people?
We can, but
Are we paying them for the lost use of their land that we took and decided now we're not going to use this?
Well, we are required to give them mobility fee credits. If they ask for them, we have to give them mobility fee credits for the land.
Are you going to be sending notices out to all these people? I mean, I went and looked at I appreciate the idea of narrow corridors, and I think whoever created the last table, I wasn't involved in that, got a little greedy. But now there are people who've had their land exacted from them for roads that we have zero intention to build, and they've lost the use and the rights to that property. What do we propose to do about that?
So,
Because you get up here and talk about it, we're protecting it, it's not your land. It's the property owner's land, and we also have a property rights element in the comprehensive plan too.
Agreed.
And don't get me wrong, I understand the need to plan for future transportation, but we can't do this willy-nilly. Well, I got a vision that we're gonna do this, and the next guy comes in and his vision is different, and now it's cost people. It's cost people their property. I was looking at Darlington Road this morning before I came in, and I saw that the corridor's going from 80 to 60. And I said, let me go look and see how many people had to give 40 feet from the center line along Darlington Road. What are we doing about those people? There's no intention to widen Darlington Road. So now the county, and I've got a project right now I'm working on that's finishing up. It's on Trouble Creek Road. It's the only parcel that's had to give right-of-way along Trouble Creek Road. It's been in the county's comprehensive plan now for 20 years to have 80 feet of right-of-way along Trouble Creek Road. For what? When are we widening this? What's the impetus to widen it? There is no impetus to widen it. But yet we've taken these people's property and denied them the use of that property.
well,
I think we need to think hard about how we protect lands for transportation. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that we shouldn't plan. That's what this whole exercise is about. But we need to be very careful about what we're doing with other people's property. And to that same end, I'm looking down at Mr. Williams at the school board. What if the school board decides to use this same exact tool to plan for schools? Well, you know, I think 5 years from now, I'm gonna need a school over there, and I'm gonna need a school over there, and I'm gonna need a school over there. So let's just put a map or a table in the comp plan, and if somebody comes in, well, we'll just exact that land from them for a school. But you guys don't do that, do you?
well, they'd have to give credits or cash for that land too.
No, we don't do that, and but the reality is now the legislature is looking at some land that we have bought for the future, and they're saying, oh, we think the school board has too much land. You guys are gonna have, there's been legislation, fortunately it hasn't
I
passed.
didn't say I agreed with that either.
No, I agree, I know you don't, but, I mean, there is legislation that floated around, but fortunately didn't pass about, hey, you need to offer it up to charter schools or affordable housing or whatever, but, again, there is a balance. And I thought the same thing, John. I'm looking at some roads where there's empty land in there waiting on additional lanes, and I'm thinking, what happens when that doesn't get built? I think there
Right.
does need some methodology.
And same
be
thing, I'm
thought
looking
through.
at some of these realignments, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the realignments are not without merit, or that it doesn't make sense to realign, or that the previous alignment made any sense. I'm just thinking about, what about the people that came in here for an MPUD, and they got hit with, well, we've got this vision road map over here, and you need to give this right-of-way
Cut your
for
development in half.
this, yep, that bisects your development, and now we've decided to realign the road, and we're not actually gonna use that land.
So, I think first of all, any one of those developers could come in and say, you've now changed it, we wanna develop that piece now, and we would let them,
Yeah,
if
but-
they can. I mean, I
Yeah,
realize in
if
some
they
cases they
can,
can't.
the problem is you took the opportunity from them.
I understand that, John, I mean, but yes, did John Gallagher and Jim Whitman make a lot of mistakes? Yes. I mean, they probably took more land than they needed
I'm not
to.
looking to have a blame game for Mr.
I mean, but what do you
Whitman or
want me
Mr.
to do? You want me to
Gallagher,
bring them
because-
in here and you can shoot them? I don't know what you want me to do.
No, I'm not. What I'm,
I think
I'm
we're saying is we need a
saying-
mechanism to be able to deal with.
Well, and Mr.
What-
Chair, if I could, I agree with what you're saying, but there are mechanisms to address every one of the many hypothetical situations that you identified.
Okay, so I'm asking.
So I don't know which one you would like me to speak to first.
Start with a shooting, I guess.
Well, no, I'm not looking to, I actually like Mr. Gallagher, and there's some days I wish he was back here. Unfortunately, we can't bring Mr. Woodman back.
So to your point, I can take a shot and then you can tell me what I've.
The next county engineer may come in and say, this isn't feasible. There's one map, there's one line I see on this map that I think may not be feasible. I'm gonna ask about that one after, but go ahead.
So generally speaking, if I'm changing an alignment, it's because we have not granted a development approval in that area, and the line that we would have to exact from someone is not constructible. Otherwise, if I'm changing an alignment because it's adjacent to or within an approved development, it's because we actually approved a different line through the administrative process of submittal of an application through PDE and granting of approval through the Board of County Commissioners for a rezoning or a land use change. They were allowed to change the line because it was more advantageous to them to put it where they requested and not where our comp plan showed it. And we granted that request, and now I have to amend the alignment adjacent to that approval so that I can provide continuity. If you want an example of that, look at the Old Woods Avenue corridor in southeastern Pasco. We have essentially granted an approval here and an approval here, and they don't meet in the middle. So I have to figure out how to navigate the S-curve on the unapproved, the parcel that has not yet been entitled. Same answer with respect to Wells Road in central Pasco County. We have approval to the north along, I said Wells, it's Wilson Road. We have an approval to the north along Lake Patience, and we have an approval to the south where Wilson hits State Road 54, and they don't match. And our job is to figure out how to make them match in the unentitled parcels in the middle. So if I'm doing an alignment shift, it's not because I'm trying to undo an approval, it's because I'm trying to reflect and be consistent with approvals already rendered by the county commission. Generally speaking, if for some reason someone comes in and says, hey, you exacted land from me and I would like to build on it now because I've identified a different way to provide that, or your comp plan through this amendment process has identified a different way to accomplish that objective.
It's not that I want to build on it now, it's that back when I wanted to build on it and I wanted a 100,000 square foot building and I was forced to build a 60,000 square foot building because you made me give this right of way that you never needed.
And I'm going to submit to you, without knowing the details, that you may be overstating some of the severity of the hypotheticals. If there are examples that you would like me to investigate, I would be happy to do so.
I probably could show you lots of conceptual
And frankly, to the
plans
point of, and we generally have responded favorably. I know because I sign most of those alternative standard requests to reduce the right-of-way footprint.
With all due respect,
We
you
respond
haven't been here
favorably
for
to those
20
questions.
years.
In my tenure.
The other thing I would add, John, is just because we're not gonna use that right of way for road widening does not mean we don't need the right of way. I mean, I don't know if you've been to our board meetings lately, but how many times we've had commissioners ask us to widen paths and sidewalks and have right of way for utilities and landscaping. I mean, we make use of that right of way for purposes other than road pavement. So I wouldn't just assume that it's not going to be used.
Yeah, but if it's a street that didn't exist before, that is now, you know, a vision road, for instance, the US 19 thing, you know, and I guess to John's point, you know, it's the stuff that we don't know about. So if it's a piece of property that maybe someone could have sold to a developer, or someone could have developed, that window expired and nothing ever happened on that property, it's different from, you know, hey, we've already built on it and now we want to add to it, or hey, it's still in planning and we're going to utilize now.
But I mean, to answer your question, if it truly is not usable by the county anymore and somebody wants it back to add more parking, add more landscaping, yes, we would try to find a way to give it back to them. I can't promise you that it's gonna be used to be able to to add more square footage, but maybe they could add more parking for their building. Maybe they could add more landscaping. Maybe they could add something, put it to some usable purpose. But that's something we'd have to look at on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, I think he's speaking to the damage that's already been done.
But
From
again, I can't, if you, unless you want to bring
I don't-
Mr. Gallagher back in here and shoot him, I don't know what you want me to do. I mean,
Mr. Gallagher wasn't king of Pasco County. He had to have a board of county commissioners that
but I
that
know,
voted
I
for
know who,
whatever, but
I know who instructed Mr. Whitman to come up with those cross-sections. It was Mr. Gallagher.
I don't know that we can do
And then
anything about
somebody
what was
had to-
done in the past. I
Okay.
mean, all we can do, I think this is a movement, personally, I think this is a move in the right direction to right-size the right-of-ways, because it
Yes,
seems like
Oh, absolutely,
that-
yeah.
I do
that's
too.
where we're headed.
But if the question is, are we willing to give the right-of-way back so that if it's truly not needed anymore, I don't, and again, I think Nick's right, we don't know, it's a case-by-case thing we'd have to look at, to see, do we truly not need it anymore? Yes, we could look to give it back, and maybe they could use it to add some more parking or landscaping or something, some usable purpose for that business. But they'd have to come to us and say, hey, we'd like the right-of-way back now.
Let me ask you this question. Does Hillsborough County have corridor tables that require dedication? Does Pinellas have them? Does Citrus have them or Hernando have them?
I don't have an exhaustive awareness of all 67 counties, but all the ones that I've worked in have them.
Okay.
Because especially in fast-growing areas, if you don't know where you want your road network to be, you won't have a road network.
Well, no, I believe in visioning roads and designing or, contemplating a future roadway network. What I don't believe is exacting people's land before we have plans
Oh, I can assure you that
and/or funds.
we're not the only county that does it, otherwise the legislature would not have imposed legislation requiring us to give credits when we do it. There's a reason the state legislature came in and mandated that we give credits
And
when we exact right
I
of way.
really do want the commission to understand that the administrative experience we've had is not the experience that Commissioner Moody is describing. We're not lashing a whip over developers saying, give us land whether or not you like the location. It's what the comp plan says. We're incredibly flexible. When people come in and say, the comp plan shows a road right through the middle of my property, can I move it to the edge so that I can amass the developable
I'm not
area?
suggesting
We are
that-
absolutely accommodating to
I'm not
requests like that.
suggesting that you aren't. But I've been here. I've got a lot longer history here than you, and I have seen that whip cracked over these people and that land exacted from those people. And now I'm seeing it undone. And don't get me wrong, I actually support what you're doing. But I question the wisdom of a process where this can happen to somebody. That's all I'm saying.
And I just want the commission to understand that we view development as a partnership. We're all trying to construct a regional transportation network. And if they're building pieces of it and we're building pieces of it, we're pursuing the same objective ultimately, which is to create a thriving community where people want to live, move, and play. We're here for the good of our community, trying to figure out how to do this together.
Nick, have you finished your additions and deletions or no?
I believe
Would you show the one that goes from Caldwell
I-
to St. Joe?
we need to talk about one more slide. Yep, that's the one. So we need to talk about this slide. So brief background to this. This is a proposal to add 2 roadway segments, Caldwell Lane from the Suncoast Parkway to US 41 and Bowman from US 41 to Bellamy to connect across from Johnston. This is essentially a request that we heard when we did our mobility fee workshop, and really throughout several discussions with board members regarding development along the State Road 52 corridor, saying, why don't we have an east-west corridor in Pasco County that runs between 41 and Bellamy, north of State Road 52? So this is the proposed location of that 2-segment corridor that would give continuity from 41 to the Suncoast, support and really add value to the potential Suncoast interchange at Caldwell. And it would allow for a connection from US 41 to Bellamy if you wonder why does it have the weird kink in the middle, it's because the road essentially follows the northern boundary of the Tampa Bay water parcels within that area.
This is,
And this is different from the version that is in the map in your packet because of conversations that have continued to occur in the direction of this alignment. And so that was
What's the name of that road up here where it intersects?
the, if you're talking about this teal road between 41 and Bellamy, it intersects to the west with Bowman at US 41, and it intersects to the east at Bellamy and Johnston.
In Johnston, okay.
so the map, I'm sorry, map moves 3 that I'm looking at, because I looked at that and said, what the heck is this road? You're saying this supersedes?
This supersedes that.
So the reason you couldn't bring Caldwell straight across is because,
Because that's Pinellas County's
It was
well field.
running through the Pinellas County water parcels.
and I assume Tampa Bay Water had concerns with it.
It can't be mitigated?
We received concerns from our representatives on the Tampa Bay Water Board.
Can't imagine
Okay.
why.
So we have not approached the Tampa Bay Water staff because we did not have the support of our delegation on the Regional Water Board to run the corridor as shown on your map, which is why this map differs from the one in your backup material.
So does this run through someone's ranch or something?
It runs on the north side of the water parcel along primarily existing farm roads, but it would encumber portions of existing ranches.
I don't know this area well enough, Nick, and I'm sure you probably looked at this, but is that not a road just south and west of that kink?
It's an old
Right at
farm
the tree
road.
line? It's an old farm road.
Yeah, and if I were to turn on the natural, so you're talking about this
Yeah,
area right
in there, yeah. Well, up north of that, yeah.
And if I were to turn on the natural features layer, you would see that this is all, everything to the south is pretty wet. Difficult to construct through, difficult to mitigate for. Not impossible. I mean, we built Ridge Road over to the Suncoast Parkway.
Took a while,
It's
though.
not impossible, but it did not,
Yeah.
and what I said when we showed the alignment in your backup material was, this would be essentially planting a seed that someone else would get to water and watch it grow.
Yeah.
'Cause
So-
it wouldn't happen in my,
In light of this discussion, Nick, the road that, now that you've sort of moved this road further north, is that Bowman that goes across?
that is.
Why not have your interchange at Bowman instead of Caldwell then, with the Suncoast?
It's too close to the county line road interchange, which is at the top of the map. It would never get approval. And it would have minimal value because of its proximity to the county line road interchange.
Yeah. That's why the road from Caldwell across to St. Joe would be a lot more valuable, even though it's through more wetland and the Tampa Bay water. Because it's somewhat more equidistant between State Route 52 and county line.
And that funky curve you have that's kind of,
It's essentially following the northeast corner of the Tampa Bay water land. And trying to get down to the latitude, if you will, of Johnston in order to go due east from the Tampa Bay water parcel.
Yeah, that's not ideal either, just from a traffic flow perspective.
I'm skeptical that somebody's gonna drive on a controlled access road that's got those kind of curves.
Well, again, the comp plan is conceptual. We could straighten that
90-degree curve.
quite a bit with just
But
I could make it into a sweeping S curve.
Then back to the
But
point.
To the point of property acquisition, private
Okay, now
development
I give you
rights.
this right away, and oh, well, yeah, this is not really feasible, and we just need to bring it straight across.
But you're right. If I'm trying to make this a relative, even a moderate speed, controlled access facility, I'm counting on some significant super elevation with the curves that I'm showing.
Well, but in Nick's defense, though, if somebody came in with development in that area, I'm pretty sure he would ask somebody to look at the feasibility and the alignment of that road coming through there, and that may be a case where they suggest an alternative alignment that he says, yeah, that makes more sense.
Of course, you have to stay in your position, you know, can't quit.
I feel like if it's not in alignment with Caldwell to St. Joe through the original,
Connection from let's just say you didn't have the Caldwell interchange at all. Is there merit to having a connection from 41 to I-75? A controlled access connection from 41 to I-75? I'm asking, I don't know.
I'm not sure I followed your question.
Let's just say that the road stopped at 41, like it didn't, well, I guess it doesn't, because because it is Bowman. But let's say say you remove the Caldwell part of this from the map. Does the road still have merit, is what I'm asking.
I think yes. And I think in part because you've got milepost just east of the Suncoast Parkway that gets you from Bowman up to County Line Road, and that gives you a regional connectivity. It becomes a meaningful way to move east to west if you're in western Hernando County or the Shady Hills Road corridor, sort of northern and west of the Suncoast Parkway in Pasco County. It gives you a way to get to eastern and southeastern Pasco County without having to rely on State Road 52. I think the Caldwell Lane connection has its own set of significant obstacles to be overcome. It is running through the eco corridor, and then there's a large lot residential community on the west side of 41 that we would need to find a way to traverse with as little impact as possible. The point of the Caldwell connection to 41 is we have seen development applications and seen the board grant development approvals to projects along the 41 corridor that would not be able to avail themselves of any investments in Shady Hills or access to the Suncoast Parkway if that connection didn't occur. They would be forced to rely on the State Road 52 US 41 corridor, which is the segments of road that this concept is seeking to relieve.
So you're just trying to get all that development, another connection to the Suncoast?
Yeah. While you're thinking, I just want to say I appreciate this discussion.
Yeah.
Thank you for engaging.
yeah,
I mean, my only concern with it, Nick, is that I just don't, it just seems odd to me to show a controlled access roadway with that kind of curvature. I don't, it just doesn't seem like it passes the straight face test.
I can fix the curve if John won't get too mad at me.
I understand that you're trying to follow the
The point
boundaries
is,
of
you're gonna
Tampa
have
Bay.
to fix it. It's
I
I want
understand that
you
you're
to fix
trying to
it
follow the
before you
boundaries.
take this guy's land.
Well, I understand you're trying to follow the boundaries of Tampa Bay Water's land, but it seems to me that if you're now north of their land, as long as you're now north of their land, you might as well just do an alignment that makes sense.
I could cut some corners, both on Tampa Bay Water and on the private parcels to the east of the Tampa Bay Water parcels, in order to straighten the S-curve.
Affect Tampa Bay Water in a negative way?
I mean, unless there's a well in the corner of that parcel, which I doubt there is, it's, right?
it shouldn't, yeah.
So the premise is that the investment in a transportation corridor of any magnitude in an area that's serving as a well field has the potential to introduce contaminants to the well. The hydrology is not there's a lot of layers between where that well is drawing from and where the contaminants would start. So they have to, you got a long penetration to get down to the point where the well is pulling.
Run all the drainage to the north side.
And that's, and there are, I mean, to Commissioner, boy, I'm gonna mispronounce your last name.
Ontlets, yeah.
Ontlets. To his point, can we mitigate for the potentially adverse impacts? Yes. Will everyone agree that the mitigation is sufficient? Never.
Well, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
We went through that
try to
with
get
Ridge
them to
Road,
agree on
so-
anything,
Yeah.
you're gonna get never, you know. But,
I mean, we have this almost an identical issue, not identical, but we have a similar issue with the potential extension of Ridge to the overpass interchange, because there's a huge well field that's
Yeah.
through the middle of that area too, which would be a nice connection to make, to get, because Ridge sort of just stops at Connerton,
right.
and it'd be nice to be able to have it extend from Connerton to the new interchange at Overpass Road, but there's a giant well field there.
Same problem?
Similar.
The solution in this case is to go north of the well field. That's why the line is where it is. We don't have that option with the Ridge Road extension because we can't build a meaningful connection south of 52 and north of the well field.
And you can't go over the well field.
Well, that deals with the, how do you mitigate for it? If you ever driven I-10 through Louisiana, you can build an elevated limited controlled access facility. It's not
I have.
cheap. And it does not necessarily guarantee that contaminants that are introduced to the environment along the corridor are captured and disposed of without entering the area below the road.
Well, the original proposal was from Caldwell straight across to St. Joe, which did go through traverses a lot of wetland there, obviously. But is there a possibility to kind of split the difference and jog a little bit north with that, still come from Caldwell across to St. Joe, but go a little further north?
I think the problem I have is that, wrong button.
That is a problem. Oh, okay.
Here we are. So the problem I have is that everything to the south in this area is all controlled by Tampa Bay water.
Right.
So I don't really, anything I do to go due east, even if I try to get north quickly, it will traverse portions of the Tampa Bay water well field.
Yeah, but I mean, again, as long as it's not going over a well.
That's the line that I started with in the map.
Yeah.
And this
But
is,
you could-
this is the line I've been asked to present today.
Pointer doesn't work. Yeah, because you can still get above those wetlands. Because it just makes so much more sense because of the proposed interchange there at Suncoast and then the interchange that already exists at St. Joe at 75.
Those were all of the points that I articulated when
Yep.
I was being asked to
Cool.
present this one instead.
Question, so you say you're following the boundary along that curve, why not just extend whatever road this is, Bowman, to the east a little bit more and eliminate one of the curves?
Yeah, I think to the extent that the double hitch S-curve is the obstacle, we can address that.
And are we in a wetland where we're making this curve back to the east?
We are not. This area is upland.
Where's the old Bay Road in association with where it connects up there?
I'm gonna need somebody with more
Bayhead
history
Road,
than
I'm
my
sorry.
3 years to answer that.
Bayhead Road?
Bayhead's
Bayhead
north of
Road.
that.
Yeah, a little bit north.
It's a little north of that.
So Nick, let me ask you, because this entire conversation is premised on a comment made at the board meeting that 52, with all the development that's occurring, that 52 is likely to fail. Is that premise accurate? I mean, I assume we're doing all this because we're trying to find a solution, like a parallel reliever to 52.
Sure.
So and that there's nothing happening in Hernando with County Line that's going to solve that problem, and so we need to come up with something sort of in between that will. Do you agree with that premise?
I need to give a few points in response. Point number one, there is an MPO, the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Model, rather, so not just the MPO for Pasco, but the regional planning model predicts a significantly high number of trips on State Road 52 west of I-75. Significantly high, like 90,000 daily trips, based on anticipated development and the trip-making characteristics of that land use pattern. That's a big number that a 6-lane road cannot accommodate.
Yeah.
That being said, the regional planning model does not seem to accurately represent the roadways on the north of what I've labeled as Collier Parkway on the south side of 52. So the gray roads that are proposed to be constructed north of State Road 52 between the Collier Parkway, Bellamy Brothers area. The regional planning model network does not seem to have incorporated those links. So an update to the model that incorporates those links might show less trips on State Road 52. There is also a question regarding the entitlement assumptions. How many homes were proposed to be built in the model north of 52 that we have not run to ground? They may be overstating the number of houses in that area north of 52 that is also contributing to a very high forecast. So point number one, maybe the network is inaccurate. Point number two, maybe the predicted number of houses is inaccurate. And then point number three, I'm going to say the DOT is currently performing a feasibility study of the extension of what's called Ayers Road in Hernando County, which will connect from County Line Road at Suncoast east to some point along the I-75 corridor, with the Blanton-Iola corridor being a potential eastern terminus. So there is a study for an additional east-west connector road underway that is primarily within Hernando County. So you asked, is this absolutely needed, and is it the only way to address the need? So my first 2 points say it is predicted to be needed with some investigation to be done. And my third point is it may not be the only way to address predicted future east-west travel, but it is a way to address the east-west travel that is within Pasco County and therefore within our control, not dependent on adjacent jurisdictions to implement.
And that really gives even more of a reason to try to move this south from what you have here because of the potential Ayers Road connection just to the north. But the other thing that that's important with this whole thing is hurricane evacuation routes. You know, we've been, especially as you continue to develop out the Hudson area and Shady Hills and all of that, you know, that's going to become more and more needed as well. It's been needed, you know, already. We've seen that with some of the hurricane evacuations we've had recently, but that's another important reason for this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely needed, for sure.
You're making all of my points. I love it. Very good.
Are we doing it just like you told us to?
Again, I appreciate your engagement, and I think you're wrestling with the trade-offs that I wrestle with myself.
Right.
Question, what are we doing, if any? And I'm not saying that we have to. This is the year 2026, and we're now looking out to the year 2050 and beyond. And we're planning our transportation around turn of the century, and I'm not talking about the 20th to the 21st, I'm talking about the 19th to the 20th century transportation modes. We're in a world where we're now ready to put into commercial use air taxis and the like. Are we doing any planning or thinking about other modes other than just roads?
Well, and has public transport fit into this as well? I mean, is that part of this section, the Pasco Move section? Talking about,
So I've been asked to present just the roadway
right,
corridors. There are goals, objectives, and policies addressing mass transit investment as part of the MOVES corridor, or MOVES chapter, rather.
okay.
So who's planning those things?
Hi, you want to come back up?
Hi, Mazzilli, Planning, Development, Economic Growth. So on 416, we'll come back with those policies to discuss them a little bit further. As far as who's planning the policies for the transit, is that what you asked, Mr. Moody?
Yeah.
We're all planning, including the MPO and yeah, and Go Pasco, exactly.
But I will tell you that even in the most urban areas of Tampa, the modal splits, like the diversions that we get for mass transit, are not significant.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I know.
I mean, even you take the, I mean, unless you get to like New York City level of mass transit, you're not gonna get significant diversions off at the roadways. Now,
I'm not
if
suggesting
Mr.
you
Moody's
are.
talking about here, that's a whole nother different mode.
Yeah, that is what I'm talking
Okay.
about. I'm not talking about buses. I'm tired of sitting behind empty buses and passing empty buses that are blowing diesel smoke in my face all the way home with no people on them. And I actually think that's a dumb idea. But, you know, I'm looking towards the future. What are we looking at along those lines, if any? Maybe we're not. I don't know. I'm just asking the question.
We are.
Human-sized drones. It's basically what those air taxis are.
At the Consumer Electronics Show this year, they had a human drone that you could buy for less than $40,000 that doesn't require a pilot's license.
Right.
Okay, that's a pretty attractive proposition, because right now I can't even buy a car for $40,000, but I can buy a fly-on one for less. Think about that.
What happens when you have 20,000 of them in the air at the same time?
That's
Yeah, I
why,
was gonna say, yeah.
exactly why I'm asking the question, Chris. That's
Yes,
why I'm asking the
right.
question.
That's why we have AI.
Well, somebody needs to be thinking about these things.
Yeah.
Yeah. When somebody gets into a mid-air collision over my house.
Right.
I can't tell you the number of people that laughed at me in 1982 when I got my first 8K computer. Why was I wasting money on a stupid technology like that? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, is there anything
Well
else?
done.
Well, the logical thing would be if you are gonna allow those to still confine them to your roadways, just make them
Vertical. Yeah.
higher, you know, just creates, make them higher up on your roadways, so
I
that
don't
you don't
know,
have
I
them
don't know
going
if that's,
everywhere.
I don't claim to be an expert in air traffic control. I don't know whether that's logical or not.
Geofence or something.
I'm sure the people at the FAA will have something to say about it.
Okay, what do we have now?
So this concludes our discussion of Pasco Moves, or at least this portion of Pasco Moves. Do you have any questions about the maps that were included in the package?
Well, so clearly this map moves 3 is going to be revised.
Yes.
Is
just-
that the only?
Yeah, that's the only, so we will just change it to reflect the new realignment, or the new alignment.
Well, assuming that's what's ultimately decided on, because I think we've
Well,
raised our concerns as the planning commission.
I'll just
Right.
say there's nobody in here today that is gonna be happier that that map is gonna get changed, because literally just before this workshop started, I said, whoa, what are we doing? Who
Yeah.
drew that line?
Okay.
So I'm happy to see that that's moved.
That's good. Okay,
All right.
so with that, that's the end of Pasco Moves workshop. We will come back on 416 to keep things moving.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much for your engagement and for the feedback, and we'll see you on 416.
All right,
Appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just real quick, is that stuff for next week? Because that's just next week, that's next Thursday, right? So is
Yes.
that stuff coming out like tomorrow?
I will send it out tomorrow or tonight.
Okay.
Our next meeting.
Give me something to do in
That's
between
next
the
Thursday?
commercials and the masters.
I don't want to overwhelm you with everything at once. I was just trying to pace,
Very good.
Okay. Air motion.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Second, third.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
David, quick question.
I gotta go to a plane 5:30, so I
Did I understand you? Are you saying that
on a plane at 5:30 on Sunday.
mobility fee credits when
Gee.
they have to give right
I
away?
was not looking at it when I booked that flight.
Under our old
Our
rule,
next meeting is.
It's a lot different
have
nowadays.
these credits
You can watch
when
everything
Yeah,
on
it should
your
be
phone, you can watch everything on your,
Yeah,
my
it-
kids,
algorithm.
my kids hate riding with me now, because every time I'm in the
It's
car, I
like
got my
you're
phone on
like-
something on TV.
change the law.
Oh, look, it's not in my hands, it's over
That's
there.
right.
So we have to do credit against
Next
the
Thursday.
mobility fee, but we
Week from today.
Week
we
from
have a
today.
right-of-way component of our mobility fee. So we give credit against the right-of-way
I
component of
understand
it.
that, so that you're entitled to that.
Yes,
Okay.
against the right-of-way component of the fee, yes.
All right.
Nick, thank you.
See you, David.
Yes,
work.
thank you.
Yeah.
Project that is going to be finished.
Yeah,
It's
you don't
going to
have
to
anywhere to
pay
go.
impact fees.
Thanks, Nick.
They've had to give right away, which I know you never are going to do.
So that's on the mapper, that's the well protection zones and the wells.
It's only against the
And then the
right-of-way
wetlands,
component.
there's nowhere to go, except,
You have to
I think you cut that
request,
corner, but,
and the value has to be confirmed by real estate, yes.
yeah, you gotta throw that in the presentation. Yeah, there's nowhere.
Barber
Thank you, Nick.
Change the St. Joe anywhere doesn't work.
requests like probably once every 2 or 3 weeks. You can ask her, she can tell you how she does it. She sends a request in real estate saying this is the value,